Marhaba, and hello to all of our brothers and sisters around the world, friends who are, like us, interested in the cause of the Palestinians' pursuit of justice, of equality in their own landscape. Today is January 6th, 2023. It's the first program of the new year for us. I think there's been about 15 or 16 before this, detailing everything from Greek Palestinian history to current events all the time. And my friend and brother here is Mohammed Jihad Ismael. He's a writer and historian who lives in Gaza, a neighborhood called Deir el-Balah in the Gaza territory. Hello, Mohammed. How you doing?
I am good, brother. I am so happy to talk with you and to talk with our friends today.
Today, we're going to focus a little bit more, as we did in the last program, on your new book, Mohammed. You're a writer and historian whose very work defies the agenda since the Bible was written of the erasure, removal, and forgetting of the Palestinian people. The book is called Fedayee and the Sea, and it's the stories of many people, there you go, who fled the Nakbas of 1948 and 1967, the Israeli wars to disperse and dispossess the Palestinians, fled by sea. And that involved, of course, the great port of Gaza. So we're going to be hearing some more stories from that book today. Mohammed, I'd first like to ask you, because I think people would like to know from your on the ground point of view. We've been hearing a lot of unfortunate and sad and ugly things out of the Israeli government now, that they are becoming more right-wing, more conservative, and more ruthless than ever in their approach toward equal justice, equal standing under the law, Palestinians. And there is talk on the other side of, well, things might get so bad that it would come to another armed intifada. What do you think is the mood there among Palestinian people now? And how likely, if at all, do you think another uprising is going to be this year?
Yeah, I think the possibility of waging a new armed intifada is something very, very limited. And I think it's not possible, at least in the contemporary time. Because here in Gaza, people are exhausted. They cannot fight at all. Gaza is collapsed. People are starving, are suffering by all the means, from famine, from lack of medicine, lack of electricity, lack of everything. If people are looking to the Palestinian scene these days, they will find that all the clashes are taking place in West Bank. In West Bank, people are having better situation. They haven't any kind of unemployment. Their economic situation is very, very good, so they can confront Israel. They can do some kind of military action. But people here in Gaza are very destroyed. Just 3 days ago, we had three cases of suicide. Two of them used to burn themselves until death. The third one used to throw himself from high floor to down to the ground. Three passed away by suicidal ways. So I cannot describe more and more. The situation here in Gaza is very, very bad. I ask people always to look to the economical situation of Gaza, not only the political situation. I think the political situation is well known to all the people who are watching the media. But I think it's much important to search for the economical situation. I think all the people who are seeking the truth, I think they are called to search for the economical situation more than the political one.
Yes, and part of our programs, as usual, has been to urge people to contact their own government representatives to demand changes in policies that right now go to support apartheid and even go to support the Palestinian Authority and some of the government, Hamas in Gaza, that is not supervised at all in the way that the funds of support and other kinds of help are distributed. In other words, it does virtually nothing for the average Palestinian person. And then on the economic side too, we really should mention that you and I have been trying to create a way of family to family where people through your agency could contact and get to know real Palestinian people living and suffering in Gaza. They don't even have clean water to drink. If they do drink it, it makes them sick. And an American or Western or any other family or person in the world would get to know Palestinians directly and figure out what kinds of help, however small, however big, whatever, it's up to you when you feel comfortable. But we could help you send funds directly to the people, directly to the people, not to banks, not to NGOs, not to all the other people with their handout between you and the Palestinians, directly. So please contact us with the means that we provide below in the information here in these videos, and we would be very happy. My wife and I have been helping Muhammad's family to improve their living situation by adding some rooms to their very small home. So it's an immensely satisfying thing. There is no risk, no danger, no anxiety with it at all whatsoever. That's why we think it's such a good means to help these people, and we hope you will. So with that, Mohammed, do you want to add anything before we talk about your wonderful new book? Because last time you were telling us some stories that were truly amazing.
Yes, brother. I want to add something very briefly.
Sure.
The 3 days, the three recent days, I came across very strange experience. My grandmother, felt exhausted and felt some kind of illness, fever, very sharp cough, uh, vomit, etc. We took her to the hospital, to a local hospital here in Bala. Can you imagine that uh, most of the prominent medicines are not available inside the hospital? So from time to time, doctors and nurses are asking me and asking my mother and asking my aunts to go outside to the outdoor pharmacies to buy the medicine from outside. So I have to go outside the hospital to buy the medicines, the injections, tablets, capsules, syrup, etc. I have to buy all of these kinds of medicine from outside the hospital. I have to buy them by money. And after that, I have to go again inside the hospital to hand this medicine to the nurses in order to let them give this medicine to my grandmother. So can you imagine in any part of this world that we have this sort of health sector? Our hospitals are totally empty. They are not qualified. No enough beds, no enough comforters, just to let the patient cover himself and feel warm in this very cold weather. They haven't enough beds, enough comforters, enough pillows, any kind of
Simplest
medicines.
things, most basic
Yes,
things
yes,
they do not have.
yes,
And this is
brother. Yes,
directly a result also of so much money being siphoned away, being taken away secretly into the
we have
pockets of
thieves.
private people.
We have thieves. We have Palestinian thieves here. They are stealing all the money which come from the international war. Believe me, I went to my home just to bring 3 pillows to let my grandmother put her head upon them. They haven't pillows inside the hospital. I used to buy the food. I used to buy the medicine. So I invite all the people to imagine, just imagine this kind of life, how we are
Desperation.
suffering.
It's daily
Yes,
desperation. Everything you try to do, from eating a meal, to taking care of your health, getting your children educated, to taking care of your elders, every single aspect of life is a crisis because of the Israelis locking these people in there now for 15 years. And Muhammad's own family, 75 years they've been in Gaza as refugees from their original very happy and very comfortable village. This is the kind of thing, my friends, that family to family and other efforts are trying to change the better. And we hope that our little discussions here, we are small potatoes. We know that from many authoritative sources. But we nevertheless are going to try all the time to make people think and feel what the Palestinians' condition is. There is no reason for it. So we can and must change it. Ahmed, your kind of book, also Fedayee and the Sea, brand new this year, very well received by the local Palestinian community because they see something fresh, aspects of your history that have not been covered before. And if I may share with the readers, last time toward the end of our program, you were starting to tell some stories from the book. One involved a Greek sea captain who had brought his ship with the crew over to Joppa, one of the then Palestinian ports, and he was trying to take people onto the ship because they had been told at gunpoint to leave their homes. So, yes, sir, shoot me, we'll go. They start to go, and the Israeli gunboats and land forces opened fire on them. The Greek captain was killed, the ship was sunk, and we have no way of knowing how many people drowned in that one incident. Imagine you're told to leave, you agree to leave, try to leave, they kill you anyway. Another story involved this fisherman of Gaza fishing close to the shore, found the body of a young child drowned. And in the pocket of this child's remaining clothing, there was a little note written by the child's mother who said, "I'm going to die now. Please, somebody help my child." And it didn't come. The fisherman took the child's name and gave it to newborn children of their own families and community. I believe, Ahmed, it was Khaled, which means immortal or immortalized. And this to me is something like out of a book of incredibly powerful stories of fiction, because this child that has been lost and whose life has been wasted still rises up from the sea, and they give him they were told from the note in his mother what his name was, Khalid, and he becomes in a sense immortal through more children of the Palestinian people. So in my time of knowing these people and in yours as well, I'm sure you'd find I have no problems. These are the kinds of strength and courage and heartbreak and suffering and loss that they go through. There is nothing that I could ever complain of because of my friendship with Muhammad and his family. Just want people to know that. So, Muhammad, tell us more about the book. You are recovering deep Palestinian history that has never been told before. Are there aspects of that project you'd like to talk about? Tell some more stories from the chapters. Anything you'd like to do, my brother?
thank you, brother, for all of these explanations. You talked about the story of Khalid, the immortal boy who was immortalized by giving his name to all the firstborns of the fishermen who found his dead body. Also, you spoke about Captain Papalazaro, who was killed with his 7 members crew, which were a mixture between Greek and Cypriot sailors. Uh, Today, I am going to tell our friends about an extra 2 stories. First of all, I am going to speak about the Egyptian community inside Gaza Strip. From 1948 until 1967, Gaza Strip was administrated by the Egyptian government in the era of Abdel Nasser, President Abdel Nasser. Gaza was a part from Egypt in that time. In the War of 6 Days, in June 1967, the Israeli army just in very few days used to invade the Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, West Bank, and Golan Heights in Syria. In that time, when the Israeli tanks used to invade the Gaza Strip, so many Egyptians were jailed, were killed by the Israeli troops. Others used to take shelter inside the cactus trees, inside the olives trees, inside the plantations of oranges and grapefruit. In that time, most of Gaza land was covered by those kinds of plants, cactus, olives, and citrus. In my book, I speak about a fisherman. They are three fishermen from Bakr family. Bakr family is a very famous family here in Gaza. Those fishermen used to inform me about their testimonies when they used to smuggle the Egyptians by sea through their boats from Gaza Mina, Gaza seaport to Alexandria, Port Said, on the Egyptian coast. They used to tell me their stories, their testimonies with the Egyptians that they used to smuggle them. They told me some sad stories for some Egyptians who were killed in the sea by the Israeli Navy. Others used to survive and used to reach successfully to the Egyptian coast. So their stories were a mixture between failures and success stories. Of course, in the success stories, they registered some stories of hope, newborn hope, for those Egyptians and their families. But in the other stories, the sad stories, of course, these stories were full of tragedies and sorrow and melancholy events. This is my documentation for three testimonies for the fishermen of Bakr family who used to smuggle the Egyptians. Another story I used to give it a good part and an entire chapter from my book. It was the story of Salim al-Nafar's father. Salim al-Nafar is a very prominent poet in the contemporary Palestinian literature. He is well known in Gaza, West Bank, and even in the Palestinian diaspora.
And let me tell the audience
Salim,
that if they want to see some of Salim al-Nafar's work in English, Muhammad has translated it, and I have helped him to edit it a little bit into very readable form. And it's at my blog, Jack Dempsey Writer at WordPress.com. The man's name is Salim al-Nafar. So just go to Jack Dempsey Writer at WordPress.com, type that name in, Saleem al-Nafar, and you will see this man's work. It is blazing. It is visionary. It is very powerful material. So Muhammad, continue. I thought they'd like to know where they can see some of that work.
yeah, exactly, brother. Thank you for clarification. In fact, Salim's father was born in 1933. He was born in Joppa, and Joppa is a very famous Palestinian port on the Mediterranean.
In Tel
It
Aviv.
locates, yeah, nowadays is Tel Aviv, exactly. Nowadays is replaced with Tel Aviv, is the Israeli capital.
Yes.
Yeah. Salim's father, his name is Mustafa, and Mustafa in the Arabic language means a chosen or selected, the chosen or the selected.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mustafa, Salim's father, was a very powerful man. He was a muscular man, tall, and has a muscular body. He was very famous in Joppa as a skillful fisherman. He was specializing in hunting the big fishes, the tuna and the big fishes, because as I told you, his body was powerful. Yeah. Mustafa al-Naffar, when the catastrophe of 1948 took place, and the Haganah and the Steren troops, the Zionist gangs used to attack Joppa. He
First
used
Israeli militias, the Haganah. They did a lot of the terrorism and violence as part of the overthrow of Palestine. Go ahead.
Exactly, and their terrorism was very broad, because they used to kill both the Palestinians and the British army. They killed thousands of British victims by a cold war, by a cold blood. Sorry. Uh, as a fisherman who owns a boat directly, his only option was to take the naval route. So he took his wife and his mother, his father, sisters, brothers, etc. Their total number was 13. He took all of this family, this extended family, and he uh, moved to his destination. In that time, his destination was Sidon city in southern Lebanon.
Yes.
The famous Phoenician
Of course. Sidon.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sidon, exactly. So he used to go to Sidon, and he arrived there successfully without being intercepted from the Israeli Navy. And the 13 people arrived in a peaceful way. No one was harmed. They reached Sidon in a good health, and the situation was good. But after that, they were starving inside their two tents. They lived inside two tents, were given to them by the UN, United Nations. They
Yes.
give them two tents. So the 13 persons were to live inside two tents. Six persons in the first one and 7 persons in the second one. In that time, the amounts of food were not enough. So he has to look for a kind of work, just to be a breadwinner, to find
Of course.
some money to feed his family. So in that time, also this time, sea for the second time is his only option. So he took his boat and went to the Mediterranean just to throw his nets and to throw his tools, just to find some sardines, some little fishes. Now in Sidon, his target and his goal, not finding tuna and large fishes. Now all of his hope just to find the small sardines, just to feed this big number of relatives and family. During his fishing in the Mediterranean, he was intercepted by an Israeli uh, military boat. They used to kidnap him. They kidnapped him to the Israeli waters, and he used or he tried to make some quarrel with them because, as I told you, he was a strong man. During this quarrel, they shot him directly in his head and they threw him to the sea. Right now, no one can find his remains, his body, because, of course, he was eaten by the fishes of the sea. This is the story of Mustafa, Salim's father.
And did Mustafa's family, who were in Sidon then, Mustafa's family find out what happened to him? When did they find out what happened to him?
After that, they moved northward to the Syrian coast, and they lived in a Palestinian refugees camp just very close to the Latakia city on the
Yes,
Syrian port.
yes, yes.
Yes, so
They,
they moved from Sidon to Latakia.
did they know what happened to Mustafa when they moved? Or did they only find that out later? How did they find out, Muhammad? How did his family know what happened to him?
Yeah. Just I want to clarify something. This incident didn't happen exactly after the Nakba, after the catastrophe. This incident happened in the year, I think, 1968 or 1969. So
I see.
after several years. Yeah,
Okay.
it's important to clarify this point. Yeah. What was your question?
How did Mustafa's family find out what happened to him?
In that time, they took the testimony of some Lebanese sailors were working on a ship. This ship was carrying sugar from Egypt to Lebanon. They saw by their eyes the incident when Mustafa tried to quarrel with the Israeli soldiers, and when they responded by shooting him and throwing him to water. Some Lebanese sailors informed Mustafa's family that we saw this as eyewitnesses. We saw
Yes.
this, and this incident was not far from us. This happened very close from us, and we saw all
Oh,
the scene.
I see. So they eventually moved from Sidon to a Palestinian refugee camp. And from the very time that they left Palestine, they were poor. They were at other people's mercy completely. They had nothing but the good intentions or the help of others or the UN and other organizations that might give them some kind of hold on life. They had nothing. Had nothing.
Yes, yes, and we have to say something important. When you speak about 50s, beginning of 60s, UN was not a strong organization because in that
Mm,
time we had the aftermath of World War II, and Europe was starving. And in that time, USA used to offer Marshall Project just to help the Europeans who were starving in that time. So
yes,
UN as an international organization was not powerful like nowadays. In
yes,
that time, the amounts of food and medicine which were given to the Palestinian refugees was very limited. So as a Palestinian refugee, you have to be fed only by one loaf of bread per day. only some beans, like little glass of
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 course.
cooked beans.
Yeah.
Yes, so people were not having enough help from UNRWA. But now, after decades, UNRWA has improved, and she used to increase the helps and the relief for the Palestinian refugees.
Yeah. And we should tell people, or remind them rather, that out of this terrible situation, and I'd like to ask you, Mohammed, do you know any further stories about Mustafa's family? Because one of them, Salim, son, became famous poet, very powerful writer and poet of the Palestinian people. And he has written, I think, two novels about the lives of refugees living under the tents and in the hills outside main cities and being dependent on the largesse of whoever happens to be there when they land out of hell, out of chaos. But Salim al
Exactly.
Nafar raised himself to become educated and to begin to tell the stories in the most beautiful language you've ever seen in his work. Do you know anything else about Salim's other family, Muhammad, to give us an
Yes,
idea of
brother.
how they survived
Yes, brother. In fact,
to the murder
Salim's
of their
life.
father?
Yes, brother. In fact, Salim's life is full of pains and tragedies and sorrows. Uh, Let me tell you an extra information about this family. In addition to Salim, one of his sisters is a good painter. She is a skillful artist, and she has so many art pieces. She participates in so many arts exhibition, and whether inside Palestine or outside. She's a very talented painter.
Hmm.
Just to give the people an extra information about Salim himself, in addition to what you just mentioned. Salim's last novel was entitled Nights of Latakia. In this novel, he documents some of the testimonies of his mother. You know, his
Hmm.
mother. She's alive right now.
Hmm.
His mother, in fact, has very fertile memory. She can remember the smallest details
Hmm.
about their migration from Joppa till
Hmm.
their life in Sidon, until their life in Latakia. Yeah. So in his last novel, his recent novel, Nights of Latakia, he speak or he write what his mother used to
Share with
remember.
him. Yes.
From her very long journey on the Levantine coast, from
Yes.
Joppa to Sidon to Latakia, and finally to Gaza. Now they are living in Gaza. Yeah.
Mohammed, I have to sum up here because our time is going, but I can only say that the more I listen, the more I long to read your book in the original, which I will never be able to do because I don't speak or know Arabic. And I'm sure, though, there's somebody out there who speaks both English and Arabic and would be interested in translating this book because I think millions of people in the Western world would love to know these stories. And one other impression I always have is that every life that you tell us about sounds like a movie, sounds like a movie that would grab you by the neck and by the heart and shake you and make you see a whole different world. So I think we all would like to thank you for keeping those stories alive. That's the work of a true historian. Now, I just want to make people aware once again at Muhammad's book, Fedayee the Sea. You can see a lot about it at jackdempseywriter.wordpress.com. The ISBN number and other information by which you can order the book. Maybe take a hand or take a shot at translating some of it. And I know Muhammad would be eager to see how that comes out. So please look in the more info section here for full information and connections to other work about the book. It's a really compelling read. Mohammed, thank you as always for this wonderful chance to talk with you. And we will have another program, excuse me, coming up soon about the ancient archaeology of Gaza, another wing of the struggle of the Palestinian people and their struggle to hang on to their history and their past in the most physical and tangible senses, from the people to the objects that have been left in the ground by millennia of human history. There is no price one can put on this legacy, and it's slowly being destroyed either by corruption, by bombing raids, and any other kind of attack that you can almost imagine. And we're going to try to cover some of that for you next time. Ahmed, anything you'd like to say to our dear friends, brothers, and sisters around the world before we go?
Thank you, brother. You are welcome. I am so happy as usual to speak to our friends about my updates, my activities, my achievements. I am so happy to share these informations about my book, and I am so happy that my people, the Palestinian people, are looking with happiness and with good evaluation to this book. Day after day, I receive some phones from radio stations, from some journalists, from some interested people asking me questions about my book, how they can
Wonderful.
have a copy from it. And from time to time, I make some discussion sessions. I am so happy that this book is achieving wonderful success just in very few duration. This book was published only 1 month ago, and in the recent month, I am achieving all of this wonderful success. So I am happy, and I am happy. The most thing with
Oh, Mohammed, I think you have frozen. Your image has frozen and I'm not hearing you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is life in Gaza. You're lucky if you have 8 hours of electricity a day. Mohammed does our little talks on batteries because he cannot depend on the outside source of electricity. So I think it might be best for now to close the program. Please look below at our program called Family to Family if you would like to help Palestinian people survive what's being done to them. And please write to your own government, contact your own government, and demand changes, policies that are not helping Palestinian people whatsoever, quite the reverse. Thank you, each and every one of you, for tuning in once again, and we'll see you next time. Peace.